How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do my part 2 to the attacker side of the top 5 guns. This is going to be the defender side now. So I am adding one thing to the scale here that I didn't add in the attacker, and that's kind of the usability aspect. A lot of people disagreed with the F2 on Twitch because, well, it's not that usable and you need a lot of experience with it to even be somewhat decent with the F2. Other than that, I'm just doing the damage, fire rate, and damage per second. I know a lot of people are disagreeing because damage per second doesn't really matter in Siege, but it's just kind of a standard guideline that every game has. You always judge a gun by DPS. It doesn't mean that it's only good because DPS, because if that were the case, I would have added a ton of different weapons. Some more important statistics is the fire rate, because Siege is a one-shot headshot game. So if you could just hit one shot on a high fire rate gun, well, that's a good case scenario. If you didn't know, attacker guns are way more overpowered than defensive guns. As you're going to see here, the DPS is literally cut in half on some of these guns. So I just wanted to throw that in there for all the uncertain people that are disagreeing with my way of judging these weapons. I'm not just judging based on the damage, fire rate, and DPS. I'm also looking at the stability of the weapon, the usability of the weapon, and also just how easy it is to get kills with it. So I want to go into my favorite weapon in the entire game. Not saying this is the best weapon in the entire game, but it is my favorite weapon on defense at least, and that is the Alda on Maestro. Now, this gun doesn't have the best statistics ever at 36 damage, 720 fire rate, and a 432 DPS, but this is a great example of DPS and everything doesn't really matter whenever you have a gun that is as easy to use as the Alda with 80 plus bullets in it per magazine before you even have to reload, and a controllable recoil as well. Now, where you're going to see this gun shine is whenever you are anchoring and having to pre-fire. Late round, there's nothing going to get through a door whenever you're pre-firing with 80 bullets. Just a few months ago, this weapon had an ACOG. A lot of people think that it's getting a 2x next season, but that's not the case. It's actually the ACS-12, I believe is what it's called. That's his other weapon that's getting the 2x. It's not going to be the Alda because that would just be as overpowered as it once was. They took away the ACOG for very obvious reasons. A gun with 80 bullets and as good as Maestro's gun should not have a ACOG. So now on to the next weapon. This is a weapon that I think is pretty broken, and that is the T5 SMG, which is on Legion and now also on Melusi, the new operator from Steel Wave. So at a damage of 28 and a fire rate of 900, it concludes to a total of 420 DPS, which once again is not the highest, but that goes to show how powerful a high fire rate can be whenever you're picking a weapon. You just have to hit one of these bullets and it gets a insta kill. So as of right now, we're still a few weeks away from the new season, but in the test server, Legion does have a 1.5 times on this weapon, and it's absolutely nuts. Legion has become one of the best anchors in my opinion from a weapon standpoint, and thankfully Melusi doesn't get the 1.5 times because that would be insane for Spawn killing a 3-speed roamer with a 1.5 times, but they didn't give her that. They just have her as her standard scopes that she had before in the previous seasons. And once again, this is another weapon with not overwhelming stats, but is silently one of the best guns in the game. Guns like these aren't always just the highest damage ever, but it's just that rate of fire just makes it so easy to get headshots. So now on to another weapon that has always been a great weapon in this game ever since day one of the game, and that is Jaeger's 416C carbine. And even after the gun has been nerfed multiple times, the damage still sits at 38 and fire rate of 740 and a total DPS of 469. Now this weapon's on this list for one reason and one reason only, and that's stability control with Jaeger. This gun has the easiest recoil to control in the entire game, maybe second to another gun that we have on this list, but as from a usability and stability standpoint, the 416 is unmatched, and the nerf really didn't do too much to him because he still has the same 3 bullet time to kill. Now all this really means is the difference between like 42 and 38 isn't actually as big as it seems. It's because as long as his fire rate's not adjusted, it's still going to take 3 bullets no matter what. The 38 versus 42, it equals above 100 every single time. Now of course we can add so many situations, right? 3 armors or add a rook armor, but for our own sanity and for my own sanity, we're not going to go into those little nitpicky things, because then we could get to the point where there's a bullet drop off obviously, so at a certain range the time to kill changes as well, the DPS changes as well, the damage changes as well. But yeah, you can't get every single range and every single statistic right, because at the end of the day it's always different depending on even where you shoot the person. So there should be no surprise that Jaeger's on this list no matter what. And I want to get into the next gun, which is on the operator Mira and Goyo. So you already know that is going to be the Vector with its insane fire fire rate. The Vector has 23 damage, 1200 fire rate, and that totals to a 460 damage per second. Now that's not too insane, but for what the gun is actually used for a lot, for Goyo or Mira, as in you're usually pre-firing around a Mira or pre-firing around a shield, either way this fire rate kills for that. The thing with this next season is Mira did get a little bit nerfed with Zero coming into the game because it adds this new element of ease to be able to destroy Miras, but to counteract that, they gave her a new sight for the Vector, and that's the 1.5 times. Now unfortunately for your Goyo users, you're going to be stuck with the normal sights, just the reflex hollow, so you're not going to have the access to the 1.5 times, but if you use Mira and use the Vector, that just makes the weapon even that much better, because if you can hit headshots just that much easier, this gun is a absolute beast. The fire rate is insane, so you have better chances of hitting a headshot with the fire rate of 1200. Now the problem is a lot of lower ranked players don't really enjoy Mira or Goyo that much because of the Vector. It's kind of considered one of the weakest hitting guns, and that's because it is. If you don't hit headshots, a 23 damage is nothing. It takes 5 bullets to kill someone at a middle to close range gunfight, which is not good. But if you can hit any sort of headshots, you're gonna quickly realize how great this gun is for pre-firing around a Mira. Well anyways, I want to get into my last weapon, and this one was hard to pick between because we have all those great MP7, the very powerful MP5 as well, MP5K, MP5SD, or even the MPX. I know that gun's like a pea shooter with its damage, but the stability is insane. But I didn't go with any of those ones actually, and I instead chose the go-to roaming weapon of the K1A, which is on Vigil. So with a solid damage of 36 and a fire rate of 720 and a DPS of 432, you can see why Vigil is so highly picked, because this weapon is so very good and his gadget is really made for roaming, so he makes a great roaming operator with a really solid weapon. Now if I actually did have a report card for stability, he would get the A++, and that's just because this gun is the easiest to control. This is the other one that I was comparing to with Jaeger's weapon that might be even easier to control than his. Only difference is Jaeger's does hit a little harder, 2 damage points. Once again, that doesn't mean much. It's an assault rifle, and the K1A is actually classified as a submachine gun. Silly enough, it takes 5.56 ammo, but I guess the Korean government still classifies it as a submachine gun, even though technically a 5.56 ammo weapon should be an assault rifle. But anyways, regardless of what it is, it's still a top 5 weapon in my books. But that's my top 5 list. I want to know what some honorable mentions are. I want you guys to kind of give me them this time. I'm going to give one because I do want to include them, and I almost did include it into this list. Now, surprisingly, is not the MP5 for me anymore. I would have previously with the ACOG, but now that it's on only Doc and Rook's the only one with a 2x, and Doc has a 1.5x. Now, of course, there's also the Echo's weapon, the SD, but I'm not talking about any of those. I'm talking about the MP7. That is the gun that I almost slipped onto this list. The MP7 is actually so easy to control. Some people might argue with that because the horizontal recoil, but just try the weapon out with the iron sights. It is absolutely life-changing, I swear. But that's definitely my number one honorable mention, but let me know what your guys's are, because I honestly don't know what else I would include. There's a lot of good stable weapons on defense, just none of them pack an actual punch. None of them have good damage. That's why I didn't include a lot of weapons here. And honestly, I never really noticed it, but it seems completely opposite than the attacker weapons. The attacker weapons have a high damage, but they're harder to control, while the defensive weapons are more stable in general, but some of them actually shoot like P guns, like the MPX. But anyways, that is my top 5 list for the defenders. Once again, thank you guys for all the support recently. I really appreciate it. We are continuing our grind on to 50K. We're only about 8K away now, as I'm making this video, of course, so that could change. But regardless, thank you, and let me know what you guys want to see next. If you want to see another top 5, just let me know what topics you guys would like to see coming into Shadow Legacy. I know there's so much new content, and also it's very possible we get a earlier tier list this next season because so much is changing compared to normal seasons where it's just little buffs, little nerfs. This is a season where some operators are getting absolutely destroyed on the nerfs, and while most operators get a nice buff to them. So you could be seeing another tier list here soon. I know so many people like those, but that's for a later date. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out.